Hello and welcome to a brand new project. Today we'll be building on an unusual but inspiring map. This build takes place on a custom map by Poplar Ponderosa, where the usual square tiles of City Skylines 2 have been replaced by hexagons. But not only that, the terrain itself is shaped to conform to the hexagonal layout, which might feel familiar if you've ever played Civilization. I haven't, so this kind of layout is all new to me, and honestly, I'm excited to try something different. It's part of a collaborative project with 2 other players. Each of us have got 3 tiles to start with, and the first 2 have created beautiful North American towns. But now it's Team Europe in play, and we're going to create something a little bit different. I'm building a communist-inspired city with a mix of density, wealth, style and stature, all deliberately planned and connected. Okay, let's take stock of what we're building today. Our starting area is in the northeast corner of the map. We begin with 3 hexagon tiles. The first tile, the northernmost one, is surrounded by water, sea to the east and wetlands to the west, and a narrow river wrapping all around. This natural moat makes it a perfect candidate for our city's core. With good access to land both north and south, it's a natural bridge, making transit a core theme from the start. We'll fast forward into a modern vision here, placing our civic and cultural landmarks, government buildings, cinemas, shopping centres and a central train station, wrapped in some of the most luxurious housing in the city, government apartments, with great access to schools and services. To the east is a peninsula-shaped tile, and is ideal location for heavy industry. With the wind blowing pollution safely out to sea, this site will host a vast oil refinery with storage facilities and essential service infrastructure like recycling and a bus depot. This tile is planned to become the city's employment powerhouse. To support it, we'll establish a workers' village made up of prefabricated housing blocks, deliberately placed away from the civic centre to preserve the character of the old town, while honouring the planned separation typical of historical industrial city layouts. The southernmost tile will be our breadbasket, a rural zone filled with farms, low-density family homes, as well as our medical facilities, acting as a gentle welcome at the city's gateway. Tying all this together will be a robust road network, a grand boulevard that will run through all 3 tiles, and a tram line will follow it, stitching the city together. The modular design means that we can easily expand into any direction once we unlock new tiles, setting the stage for rapid, sustainable growth. We start by placing a road through the center of each tile, and we'll connect these up centrally using a roundabout. I'll upgrade this road using a custom tram road created in the road builder. And we'll go ahead and add the tram roads as well as a tram road over the roundabout, allowing easier movement for vehicles. Starting in our city centre tile, we'll place down the train station. This will be the focal point of the area. We start to build up the road network around this, making sure that we make use of all the land available. At the front of the station, I want to bury the traffic but retain the tram line, so we'll remove that road and add a tram road over the top and bury the road underneath. This will allow for easier access for pedestrians moving from one side of the road to the other once we put in a new pedestrian boulevard. Using the road upgrade tools, we can clean up these edges by upgrading them with a retaining wall. And now we can start to bring a new pedestrian path through the area intersecting with the tram road. Upgrading the tram road to a pedestrian road so that there's plenty of space for people to wait at the stop. Opposite the station, we can start to lay out a new city grid. Here we can start to place down some of our Civic buildings. I think this is a great spot for a cinema, a great place to catch a film as you come off the train. On the opposite side, we can place a shopping centre. Between the two buildings, we will build a grand central square using a mix of pocket parks and specially selected surfaces. Using the fill bucket mod, we're able to replace the surfaces in the parks. Removing any of those awkward grassy areas, which I imagine would be a nightmare to maintain. At the front of these buildings, we'll place down a couple of small car parks. These will be good for people with accessibility needs, as well as a place for special guests to be able to park up their limousines. Using El Gendo's 87 surfaces, we're able to complete the area using this fantastic looking Japanese surface asset. Using the level terrain, we'll start to level out the area and place down a few props. Let's add a tram turnaround to these pedestrian roads and use Move It to widen the node so that the turning radius is a little bit smoother. Using the fence net lanes, let's fence off the grassy areas so that we can make the area look nice and neat and tidy. Once the fences are in place, we can start to fill out these areas with hedges and bushes. These central medium strips are a perfect place for some birch trees. Let's start decorating the square directly in front of the train station. Street furniture plays an important role in creating an atmospheric street scene, but every now and then it's nice to place something special like this sculpture, which I think fits beautiful in this central space. Let's not forget about bringing some green into the square itself, and these planters are the perfect tool for doing that. Hexagon, the creator of the rail infrastructure pack, has suggested using these pedestrian walking areas in the past, so I'm giving them a go instead of using the invisible walking paths. However, through the course of the build, I don't think I see a single person using it, so let me know if you have any success using these. I think they'd be a great addition to the game. Let's delete these roads and start to expand the train station railroad. Using Move It's node controller, we can make these corners a little bit smoother. We have to make room for the train, so this road will have to go. We've not yet got access to any train lines on any of our tiles, so this will be a placeholder. But I'm hoping this will be a well-used route in the future, especially if we provide access on both sides of our starting area. Now that we've got all our major road and rail pieces in place, we can start to expand on the neighborhood surrounding the Grand Plaza and train station. And opposite this, we're going to build the Grand Central City Hall using the Eastern European City Hall asset. And we'll flag this with two beautiful parks. On this side, we're going to be using one of the new colourful parks, since we're going to see a lot of colourful buildings. And we'll surround this with a custom park with a forest walk and flower garden. This map was created by Poplar Ponderosa, and along with generic lemons, each of us has started with 3 tiles. To keep the builds manageable and releases more consistent, we've decided to unlock 1 buildable tile and 1 navigation tile per turn from this point on. Navigation tiles let us make realistic infrastructure connections like tunneling through a mountain or adding a seaway or a bridge. It keeps expansion more consistent and lets us focus on smaller areas in one episode. Let's frame this whole park in birch trees. This forest park will be a great place to play hide and seek. What do you think? Let's provide some places for people to sit and enjoy a sandwich or a cup of coffee. And the park is almost complete. We just need to add the appropriate lighting, and I think we should be good. On the far side of the city hall, we can place this plaza, which has a great view of the rivers converging. Let's prepare for future expansion by placing down a few bridges onto the neighbouring tiles. Next up, let's place the central station. This will be great for local and regional buses. Over by the train station, we can place down this Eastern European style college. On the other side of the station, we can place down this police headquarters. Beside the train station, we've got just enough room to add a multi-storey car park, which I think will function quite well here. Let's promote walkability by providing direct access to the college using a pedestrian road. Next up, let's place down the Eastern European Elementary School. Let's also place down the Eastern European Fire Station, Water Tower and Welfare Office. I start to work on the road system again. It's always good to go back over your work and adjust things as needed, especially as the city starts to grow and come together. And now we can start placing down buildings. I'll be predominantly using mixed use buildings with the lower floor areas as retail near the central area, and then as we move further back we can focus more on residential. Look at how many people are moving into the town. Let's make sure we've got a nice even spread of parks through the city. In between the blocks we can also place some pedestrian paths as well as parks. And we'll continue to place pedestrian paths through the whole area, increasing walkability and access in many different directions. Fronting the Grand Boulevard, let's make these areas into beautiful park spaces. And with the paths in place, let's place down some greenery. I'm now going through the building, adding all the small details that might not necessarily be obvious, such as adding hedges, fences, boundaries between buildings. It's these enclosed spaces that I feel make a city feel a lot more realistic in-game. Let's take a quick look at our road network. We can upgrade these using asymmetric roads to allow for a dedicated left turn. We'll also provide all the extra turns needed on the side roads as well, allowing as much throughput as possible. We'll also extend out a road bridge, allowing for quick access to a new tile in the future. With the main road landscaping complete, let's take a closer look at the side roads, adding green mediums and trees where they seem sensible. On second thoughts, let's replace the multi-story car park with this telecoms building, which can double up as the propaganda machine for the city. This is now the tallest building in our city, so let's make it a nice beautiful blue colour. And let's not forget to bring in some car parking, and we'll hide this underground and provide access at the rear of the property. And let's not forget to provide pedestrian access to this new car park by sneaking an invisible path through the front door and down to the road. Returning back to the other tiles, I revisit this trunk road that needs to get over the rail tracks, so I create a few guide roads and start to build this bridge over. I try to not use anarchy so that we don't get any awkward heights, but as you can see, we still need to come through with move it and straighten things out. I wasn't happy with the grass medium appearing on the bridge section of the road, so I jumped back into the road builder and removed the grass verge from the medium. This does mean that we have to go back through the build and add the grass manually, but I'm happy doing that using the road upgrade tools. Okay, let's start working on the industrial tile, and we'll start by bringing this road back down to ground level and connecting it up with the main road running through the area. The wind direction is heading out to sea, so this is the perfect location for some heavy industry. And as our unemployment rate is at 14.6%, this industrial area couldn't come sooner. We start by building a quay wall along the southern edge of the peninsula and wrap this around slightly to the east. We're using a custom road builder road, which is basically a wider alleyway. This is great for freight vehicles as it allows for better turning on corners. Let's place down this unique building, the oil refinery. Let's fly over to generic Lemon City and pinch this prop that comes with the advanced water pump station. I think this is an overlooked prop. It's fantastic for these kind of industrial builds, and it can't be found in Find It at this present time. So you simply need to use the picker tool that comes with Find It and then place it, and you'll be able to use it over and over again like I have here. We're using this prop to build an oil terminal that can deliver and receive oil on and offshore. This extends inland to an oil farm that can store and distribute oil locally. Let's start on the entrance to the oil refinery. I want to create a larger campus for this industrial area. And we can start by building a security zone where we can have a security booth as well as some police and offices. I don't like too much repetition, so I'll play a little bit of whack-a-mole until we find something that's suitable. On the other side, we'll place down this lovely Eastern European style police station. And we'll bring that a little bit closer, holding down control to allow for a smaller, refined movement. And let's get this booth down before too many tankers pass through without paying their duty. Let's lightly detail this with a few decals and stop lines. Going back to our tank area, I'm using real tanks through here, so we need to make sure that each one has a road connection, as these act as storage facilities in the game. And we can harmonize the area by removing all the fences and surfaces and using a single fence and surface for the whole area. I'm using Gagasm's Terrain Surface Pack, which is a fantastic addition to the PDX mod store. Some really nice textures through here. This one is a gravel texture. Each of Gagasm's textures have a slight transparency layer to them so that you can see some of the grass coming through, and this allows for better integration into your build. Beside the oil refinery, I want to start building a retention pond. Especially when we've got all these hard surfaces through the area, we don't want there to be too much standing water, which could cause issues. And we're using Elgendo's water surfaces mod so that we don't have to worry about placing down any water sources. I want to create a muddy perimeter, however this accidentally lays over the top of the water surfaces, so let's see if we can find a different surface that is at a different Z level. We end up settling on one of Broman's surfaces that makes the water look a little bit more dirty, which I think suits the area quite well. And with this we can add a dummy building of a sewage outlet, as we don't actually want this connected to the sewage network, as it would spill water out everywhere and would be a mess. And behind this we can start to create some paths that lead you up to the pond and start developing a miniature water treatment area which is dedicated to the refinery. Again, using the static ploppable buildings by StarQ, which are non-functional but they surely do look great. Let's add a few rocks and a few of Sully's riverbed surfaces. And besides this, let's add a little bit of parking, and using the road upgrade tool we can remove one side of the road so that it fits in nice and neat. And just to the side of the pond we can build a little pier. Perhaps you want to do a little bit of fishing. I'm not sure what you could catch out here. For these I'm using the roof walkways, which look great, but unfortunately their legs don't go all the way to the ground, so we do need to lower this with Move It. Let's go ahead and add some bushes. I'm using the control function where you can hold down control and select multiple trees, and it will randomly select the trees that you place down, which is great for time saving. Let's add a small wall along this pond so that we don't get any urban explorers coming through. Sometimes it's good to come back and clear out a few of the trees because it can look a little bit overgrown, and I do want to see what I've built. Over by the security checkpoint, let's add a little bit of staff parking for the people that work at the oil refinery. This is simply achieved by using the parking alley roads and using the road upgrade tools to bring them a little bit closer together. Next up, I want to build a custom oil terminal head. This will be the part that connects to the ship and delivers the oil on and off the ship. I'll be using a combination of industrial props, paths, and networks. These little rail bumpers will prevent the ship from destroying the platform. And these spindles look great on the elbows of the arms. Using Move It and building it on flat land, we can bring it out to sea and align it with the existing piping. The head of the pipe is a little bit high up in the water, so we can lower that down. And it still looks great. However, we have lost the pillars on the paths, so if we simply just go through and upgrade these paths, they will reappear again. Let's plop down a ship and see what it looks like. This is a really small boat. I think they would be much larger in reality, but this is all we've got for now. Let's make that a nice yellow color, and then we can come back through to the pipes and recolor these something vibrant and bright, like this red. And using the brush tool, we can apply that to the rest of these props. Let's start to upgrade the central road through this tile. I wasn't happy using the custom boulevard road with the pedestrian paths. Well, let's upgrade this to a highway road. Eventually, I want to build out a sea bridge that goes to the edge of the map, but until we unlock that tile, we'll just create a placeholder section here. And now that we know the perimeter of this area, we can start to lay out some roads and create a generic industrial area. We'll place down a bus depot and a taxi depot and add a few upgrades so that we can get plenty of extra buses and taxis in the future. Let's build some parking for the employees. Let's sketch out the remaining rows using this smaller alley road, and then we can start to place down some buildings. I like to use as many functional buildings as possible, so where needed we can always add a few extra roads to connect them. But where we do have some awkward spots, we can use these dummy buildings to fill out the gaps. With a little bit of surface work, we can start to bring this whole area together I think it's a really good idea to use a mix of different concrete and asphalt surfaces. It kind of creates that messy industrial look, something that I desire to have in many of my builds, but find it very difficult to do. To add an extra layer of detail, we'll go through the whole build and start to add these industrial props, filling out any of those tiny little gaps that have been missed. And let's not forget to add those little fences that really help close up some of the areas, providing points of interest to place select vehicles like vans and trucks. The industrial area is looking great, but you can never go amiss by adding a few extra trees. On the other side of the road, we'll lay out some roads, and this is where we'll place our city service depots as well as a workers' village. We'll start with the tram depot and we'll connect this up. This will be followed by a small post office. Let's place down a stone quarry which can act as storage as well as a local resource for what is quite an expensive product because of its weight. And behind that we can add an extra access road and a few more industrial buildings. Alongside the tram depot we'll place one of these Japanese recycling centres. This is probably the smallest and neatest looking garbage solution if you want to create a miniature city like this. Let's build the workers' village. I've selected 3 assets and added them to my Find It favourites, and I start to create a layout. Although this isn't the final version, we get a rough idea of what we want it to look like. We want to create areas of tranquility with peaceful courtyards in between the blocks of buildings. This neighbourhood should be fairly quiet traffic-wise, so we'll use mostly small roads, add in a little bit of parking, but not too much because people can use the public transport once it becomes available. Over by the river, I want to create a few of these smaller social housing units. I imagine this is where the elderly may be housed. At the entrance of this development, let's provide them with a small grocery store. Let's use Move It to make sure this is precise. Let's add this overflow car park at the back of the estate here, as I imagine vehicle ownership increased over time and parking wasn't needed as much in the past. Using pocket parks, we can fill out these little awkward gaps. This spot is a perfect place to watch the world go by as people come and go from the estate. Using Tree Controller and the Advanced Line tool, we can place these beautiful hedgerows. Holding down Control allows you to select the trees you want to be placed down. Let's go ahead and fill this shoreline with a few more trees. In the center of this block, we create a nice beautiful park area where people can hang out play and meet up with some friends. It's these little details that I feel weave together all the different assets and make them feel like one cohesive development. At the crossroad of the development and the secure checkpoint, we can reuse this tram road so that we can add a tram stop on the end of it and connect it back up to the highway roads. Let's add the tram stops to the medium. This will replace the grass verge and create a pedestrian area on both sides of the crossroad. And we'll remove those lights for good measure. Back to the tram depot, let's create a turnaround area. I found this radius a little bit too tight, especially as it crosses over the highway twice. So we do opt for a slightly larger turning circle, which allows us to create a stop on the road outside the tram terminal. However, I'm not happy with the way that it covers up the entrance of the tram depot. Let's add the remaining tram stops here and in the city and start to set up a new line. Let's make this a nice bright yellow colour so that we can get some colourful trams through the city. Let's find a tram and see where it's going. That corner was a little bit sharp, so we can adjust the turning radius using Move It's manipulation mode. Let's now watch the tram to see how it acts through this area. It looks good. I'm happy with that. Back over to our industrial village and let's start decorating this park alongside the busy road. I like to make sure there are plenty of pathways through the area to allow for better pedestrian permeability. This is a little shortcut people can use to get to the tram stop. On the highway, let's add a few stoplights so that we don't get vehicles and trams colliding. This may be an unpopular solution, but I think it's the cheapest solution, better than building unnecessary bridges. Now moving into the agricultural tile, I want to pay special attention to this roundabout. I don't think it's necessary to have the tram line running in all three directions, since there won't be that many workplaces on the agricultural tile. So we'll just reduce this down to a single line, and then we can create something special with this space. I like to create these custom slip roads that lead into a roundabout, especially if you're using a custom roundabout. It just makes the vehicle movements a little bit smoother. And similar to the industrial tile, I don't necessarily want a paved pedestrian street through here, so I'm going to upgrade this into a highway road. And since we don't have a tram line running through the area, this will just be a simple dual carriageway. All we have to do here is create a super node and then clean up the connection to the external road. As you can see here, I like using pedestrian roads for tram stops, because if you place a tram stop just on a plain tram road, the waiting area for pedestrians is very narrow. So at least if you're using a pedestrian path, it looks like a proper open air station. Now we're just detailing it with some foliage, bushes, and making a roundabout pack to make the area feel a little bit nicer to wait in, especially if you've got all this traffic spinning around you. It's probably not the nicest experience. A few random paths here and there connecting up to the various crossings. It's always great to see people using these in the future once we build up the area. Again, street furniture is important in making an area look a little bit more realistic. It's these small details which I think really bring these areas together quite nicely. And of course, let's not forget about street lighting. And as we've used regular streets here to allow for pedestrian paths, let's upgrade the road to not have any street parking. Having a look at the tile overhead, we can start to place down some of the main roads through here, and then we'll use alley roads for some of the side streets. If we adjust this road, we should be able to fit a crematorium in here. I think this is a great addition to any suburban area of a city. And alongside this, we can place this medical facility that tucks nicely next to the roundabout. At the moment, we're only sourcing our power from the external connection. However, we can place down a water treatment facility and take care of that here. And behind that, we can place down an elementary school that I forgot to place near this workers' village. Let's start to detail up the medical facility, add in some paths, car parking, and foliage. Let's use Better Bulldozer to remove those trees from the asset and place our own. Again, using tree controller's control function to select the trees we want to place down. We can use the line tool, and in holding down control, we can adjust the angle of the line of trees. So let's build out this hedgerow and make this area look a little bit more complete. Beside the cemetery, we can start to place down some Eastern European low-density housing. I think these assets are absolutely beautiful, well designed. Let's make sure we've got a few nice little small stores in the area. I don't want anything enormous or too many gas stations like this. Something low-key. On the other side of the highway, we're going to place down another residential district. Let's pay special attention not to create too many large lots and provide lots of interesting details using non-uniform road networks while also maintaining a rigid grid so that we can make as much use out of the land as possible. And one of my favorite things to do in these types of builds is to add power lines. Even though they are necessary here, aesthetically I think they do look great. Let's start to place down some of these farms and fill out all the empty fields that we've got left. I like to create these little side roads that the farms can sit on, just so that we don't have vehicles turning straight out onto a busy road. And let's connect this up to the water and power system. And let's not forget those little neighborhood parks, which are very important in these rural areas, as well as a small shop, which appears to be a gas station. One more farm over by the water, and then we can start to place a little bit more industry in this area as we move closer to the industrial tile, maintaining the border between the tiles with that nice wooded area. I like to vary the lot sizes as different companies prefer different floor sizes. You'll find that a certain business prefer large buildings and other businesses prefer small buildings, so it's always good to have a variety. Let's come through here and fill out some of these small little wooded areas, especially along the water. And again, using the control function to select the trees we'd like to place, create these beautiful little hedgerows, which I think add so much to these little fields and little rural areas. And using spacing variation, we can even create a broken hedgerow that doesn't look too overgrown. And since we don't have the tram line running through this neighborhood, let's place down a few bus stops, making a stop at the industrial area and into the town. And we'll take this around the back of the main train station and up to the main bus station and draw this line all the way back. In addition to a local line, let's create an international connection. And I took a quick look at the neighboring cities, however I couldn't find any bus stops to create a line, so I'll allow the other players to do that if they'd like to. Let's rename these lines so that we can easily identify them in the future. And before we forget, let's assign all our local services to our city. At the moment, I've simply called it New City, but if you've got any name suggestions, please leave them in the comments below. I'd love to hear your ideas. With that in place, that completes our third and final tile of this turn. If you've stuck around to the end, thank you. This speed build edit was a bit of an experiment, but it was the only way to show everything that went into this build in just one episode. I'd love to hear what you thought of both the format and the build. What I'm really happy with is how each tile ended up with its own unique purpose: government, industry, and rural living. But they still come together as one connected, coherent city. It's functional, it's full of contrast, and it feels like it has a story. Next time we'll be expanding into new tiles, but first, the save game heads back over to the other players. So definitely check out their videos if you haven't already. As for what comes next, I'd love to hear your ideas. What direction should we expand in? What should we build? Now that the core services are down, this is where we can start to get a little bit more creative. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care. Goodbye.